Yeah, from the Pacific Northwest, the lights come on. Josh James in the studio, the legend lives on since he was 2 years old. Glued to the screen, watching Hulk Hogan and a champion's gleam. Now he's grown with the mission, got stories to tell. From the indie halls, echoing the ring bell. Every Northwest hero, every rising star. If they're stepping in the ring, he's not far. Oregon Wrestling Observer, where the passion runs strong, never stops, never over. Josh James in the chair, hit record, hit the stage, spotlighting every fighter on the PNW page. Oregon Wrestling Observer, feel the crowd rise up as the voices get louder. From Oregon, Canada, and Washington, he's the man with the plan, bringing wrestling to the world. One show for the fans. Yeah, yeah, raise your hands in. Yeah, 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 raise your hands, hit the mat, feel the roar tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, maniacs of all ages, we are back once again on Oregon Wrestling Observer Live, and with me is a good, close, personal friend of mine, my brother from another mother, Scotty Mac. Welcome back to Oregon Wrestling Observer, my friend.
Very happy to be here, Josh. Thank you.
I'm just so happy to have you back on the show, because last time I had you back on the show was back in 2014, and we had to make the interview short because this was still you were still during a show. Now I can talk to you longer now, and this is the interview I've been excited to talk to you because I love talking to you, brother. I do.
Same here, man. I feel like a lot of the wrestling that we've watched in our lives, I think we appreciate a lot of the same things, and fans a lot of the same wrestlers, and appreciate a lot of the same things about professional wrestling.
I completely agree with you 100%. But how you been? Like, how's life been treating you, brother?
You know what? I'm doing great right now. Better than I deserve, as they say. But yeah, it's been, I'd say, the last 6 years or so, not as easy as the previous 20. It was like I had it good for 20 years. Not a lot of tragedy or misfortune in my life, and then a bunch all at once. But I'm still standing, as they say.
Yeah, still kicking.
Yeah, still super kicking. When it comes to Scotty Mac super kick, it's not a party, it's a finish.
Hell yeah. That's one thing I miss about wrestling right now, is that it's just become a normal move. It drives me nuts too, because it's like it's a finisher. Like, you're supposed to, after you do that super kick, 1, 2, 3, that's it.
It's the finish of arguably the greatest of all time, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, and I really think that they're doing it a disservice by just throwing it out as a transition move, and I admit it bothers me.
I'm with you on that one, actually, completely 100%. But now, we were starting to talk before the show. I completely forgot we were supposed to do a show. I was just having fun talking to you, to be honest. But I want to know from you, Scotty, how did you get into wrestling? What inspired you? Okay, this is for me. For me was Hulk Hogan, because I grew up when I started watching. Hogan's the one that got me into wrestling. Who's the one that caught your eye when you got it started watching wrestling?
When I think back, my first memories, I know that my first WrestleMania that I watched was WrestleMania 2. Yeah, so I was born in 78. Mania 2 would have been 85, I guess, right?
85 or 86?
So 86, because Mania 3 is 87. So yeah, 86.
Okay, yeah.
So I think I would have been about maybe 7 or 8 when I watched it, and then my dad's cousin Bob, because I wasn't used to adults liking pro wrestling at first in my life, and they would, they do all that phony shit and whatever.
Yeah.
And I, as a young wrestling fan, I'd kind of get my back up and try to be like, well, this part's real and this is real. But my dad's cousin Bob, we were over at my great uncle's place, and he rented WrestleMania 2 on VHS, and so we got that. And of course, I went back and watched Mania 1 after and all that. And then I also I have a distinct memory of watching Ted DiBiase do the suplex he does, or with the feet on the slingshot suplex.
Yep.
For whatever reason that stood out early on. It's not even like it's in my moveset, but I just have a distinct memory of it on a Saturday afternoon. And but it was once I was exposed to Hulkamania. I was a big fan of the Junkyard Dog as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's got me going, and the performance. And I also think that the blonde hair had something to do with it, because as a kid, being a blonde, I superheroes, like I love Batman and Spider-Man, and there's Superman and all that, but they all had dark hair, so I found myself, it's like when I saw a comic with the Flash unmasked and he had blonde hair, and Aquaman had blonde hair, and so I ended up just wanting to relate, wanting to these are the guys I admired. And then there's Hulk Hogan, which it doesn't get any larger than life in a human being than Hulk Hogan, and Hulkamania forever, as I said to you before. And then after that, the first guy that I championed, as they say, like kind of my own. Because they, obviously Vince McMahon marketed Hogan as the hero, as the number one guy. Mm-hmm. But when Brutus Beefcake and Greg Hammer Valentine at WrestleMania 3 split, and because the Dream Team lost to the British Bulldogs, and Johnny Valiant and Greg Valentine, and then Dino Bravo, who they became the new Dream Team, they left him in the ring. And then Roddy Piper beat Adrian Adonis with the sleeper in it was a retirement match. Mm-hmm. And then Beefcake came out, or no, it wasn't a retirement. It was the loser gets their head shaved, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Piper's retirement.
Okay. And so Beefcake came out and helped Piper shave his head, and then he became the barber. And I think it was the bright animal print, and he had the body and all that Brutus Beefcake became my guy. I really liked Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and that would be. I probably already wanted to be a wrestler, but then I wanted to be Brutus Beefcake.
That's really cool. That's a cool story. Like for me, like you said about Brutus, awesome wrestler for the time. Like the gimmick was different. The gimmick was way different compared to everybody else's.
I don't know why it was so appealing, this whole thing where he would cut the guy's hair afterward, but I thought it was great, and the whole cutting, and I love the long gloves. I almost wore the long gloves. I was if I was to have drawn myself as a future wrestler at the time, I would have had the long gloves on, but I think part of it, the reason why I didn't, is because when I started training with Can-Am Wrestling in 1999 in Alberta.
Yeah.
After high school, I left BC, moved to Alberta with my best friend for a year, got a job in radio, and then met a girl, moved to Edmonton, and I saw Can-Am Wrestling was going to be at the Cook County Saloon. And so I figured, let's give it a go. Let's start. Because I knew after high school that when I was going to start wrestling, it was put the pedal to the metal and go all in. And so I felt ready. And they that first day they made me bump till I puked. Like my girlfriend at the time in Edmonton, she picked me up after the training for about I was there for about 2 or 3 hours, and about 10 minutes into the drive home, I was like, pull over, and I was puking at the side of the highway uh, from all the bumps, and I was doing a flip bump, and they had me doing several in a row, like I'm talking a lot. And after you do so many, it takes a lot out of you. And one of them, I landed right on my head, and
Oh,
I'll drive myself. And so I don't know if it was that I was exhausted or concussed, but I was puking at the side of the highway in Edmonton. And,
oh,
so that was with Steve Gillespie, Steve Wild, and Otto Gentile, who still runs Can-Am Wrestling to this day, who I worked for in 2021 and will be working for again coming up probably in the spring. And yeah, so it started with Can-Am, and then I moved back to BC at the end of 98, beginning of 99, and started training with ECCW a few months later at the House of Pain.
mm,
And when I walked in, I already had a pretty decent build for a 21-year-old, and I had my bleached blonde hair already, and so I could see the heads turn when I came in, and so they wanted me, and they started calling me Rockford Sito, which is in Japan it would mean like mini Rockford, because I looked like a wrestler called Rockford 2000. And
oh,
yeah, and so they pretty much it was not even 6 months into training, they had me. Rockford wore these really cool motocross pants called Flesh Gear, and they were bright yellow with black, and he was one of the most over guys on the show. Him and Chance Beckett, who did most of my training. Chance Beckett is easily one of the best wrestlers I've ever stepped in the ring with, and had the privilege of having my first ever match with Chance, and several matches after, and still to this day some of my favorite matches and moments. But so Rockford and Chance were best friends, and they were
mm,
the top heels in ECCW, but they were so good and so cool that a lot of people liked them as well. Kind of the cool heels thing, as much as it's not good for the business. I'm wearing the most infamous cool heels
yeah.
now, but I had the privilege of being booked in the Pretty Boys Club with Rockford and Chance as Rockford's little brother, and immediately there was the rivalry between Chance and I, because we were about the same size, and everyone could see my potential. Everyone knew Chance was the best wrestler in the company. I guess arguably him or Tony Kazina. So I guess it depends
Right.
on taste. But so I had a really great spot right out of the gate. I first came out on the October New Westminster Eagles Hall show, which was, ECCW's initial greatest achievements, I guess, and biggest houses were at Eagles Hall. They were selling out month after month, and I think they even started running every 2 weeks for a bit, and they were infamous for spilling out onto the street, which it was a pretty main street in New Westminster, to the point where the cops were called a couple times. Street, and so that was ECCW's home, and I had the honor of my first ever paid time in front of a paid audience was at the Eagles Hall in October of 1999, and I was in my first match was a Fans Bring the Weapons Battle Royal. I'm wearing black bicycle shorts, and if the people at home don't know what those are, they're basically if anybody wears boxer briefs, they were like Lycra boxer briefs, but you just wear them as shorts, and taken from the cycling world. And they were it wasn't just me, they were a popular thing. Everyone, was wearing bicycle shorts there for a while. And then I had you remember Well Done, the team, Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn?
Yep.
And the thong over the singlet.
Mm-hmm.
I had the thong over the bicycle shorts, and it was from a backyard gimmick that I did called Private Penetration, and because they were camouflage, and that was one of my gimmicks in the backyard fed, and so I wore that in the Fans Bring the Weapons Battle Royal, and I remember there was you remember Buffy?
Yes.
Yeah, so Buffy was an attractive blonde cheerleader gimmick, and my biggest takeaway, the most memorable part from that battle royal was her getting a kick out of spanking me with a ruler, with a meter stick.
Oh.
I wouldn't change it for the world. It was I look back on it fondly.
Yeah, back then probably you're like, no, why the ruler?
Oh no. Like I said, she was an attractive blonde cheerleader, so I was like, have at her, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like hearing stories like that about like it's very awesome to listen to. And also, fun fact, you were talking about backyard fed. I did backyard wrestling one time too.
Not surprised one bit.
But here's the thing: I wasn't a wrestler. I was an authority figure.
Okay.
And my gimmick was between Scotty Mac and Gorgeous Michelle Starr. I called myself the gorgeous one, Josh Starr.
Oh wow.
So I had the look, I had the sunglasses. I was just like, I always kept doing your dancing as my entrance and all that kind of stuff. No one knew what I was trying to do. I was like, I'm being my boy Scotty Mac. That's what I'm doing.
Right on. Actually,
yeah.
I'm you're not the only one. My current tag team partner, third generation wrestler from South Africa, Devin Shooter. He's incredible. Incredible technician. Best left forearm in the biz as far as I'm concerned. But he would he has a son, and so it was around Christmas time. Shooter sent me a video of his son doing his best of the Scotty Mac entrance.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that made my day. It was like I said, Shooter is third generation. His grandfather and his father are pro wrestlers, were pro wrestlers in South Africa, and his son is destined to be one too. So he'll be fourth generation. So that's really cool.
That is really cool to hear. I wanted to talk to him down the road. Love to have both of you guys on the show down the road.
Class. I know it'd be too much fun, bro.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But now I want to talk to you about Portland wrestling. Yeah. How did you get booked to Portland wrestling? Like, where does the story come from there?
I like I said, I was in a really good spot right away, being booked with Beckett and Rockford in the Pretty Boys Club, and I was the little brother that Rockford and Beckett would mouth off to the babies, or even to the name that they brought in. Like I believe it might even have been January. So December 26th, 2000 was my first singles match at Bridgeview Hall against Chance Beckett. And I think it was the following month in January, I lost to Adam Firestorm. But earlier in the night, they were doing something, setting up a match later in the night with Steve Corino. So Rockford and Beckett mouthed off to Steve Corino and then sent me in there to take his finish. So that was pretty cool. And then they did the same thing with Christopher Daniels in February. And we were heels, but I didn't know how to be a heel. I was just being me. And so the fans started to get behind me. I got a bit of sympathy for being kind of thrown to the wolves all the time. And then the whole thing was Beckett and I had the rivalry. And so they put me against Beckett, and it was like, whose side is Rockford going to take? And he took Beckett's side, and that turned me baby. And then that's when I think the Pacific Northwest started to get to know that I was around and that I had some potential. And I ended up with, it was probably around the same time, maybe in 2002, where I got the opportunity in Alberta with Matt Rats, which was had Teddy Hart and Harry Smith, Tyson Kidd. Natalia was an announcer. They were Rene Dupree, who was only 18 at the time, still looked like Superman at 18. It was insane. But they were shooting a pilot for like a Saturday morning wrestling TV show featuring like teenage wrestlers, and I was oh, that might even have been my first year, because I think I was 21, but they were billing me as 19 to keep me in the teen thing.
Yeah.
And so I think, things like that, that's what made Frank Culbertson aware of me. And plus I was wrestling with ECCW in Washington and Oregon. No, not Oregon, just Washington at that point, I think. Vancouver, Washington, which is pretty darn close to Oregon. Yeah. And so, so that, I think, and I was having some great matches with Tony Kazina there. Oh, credit to Tony, though, for that. Same thing with, I think 5 months in, I'm wrestling Christopher Daniels in Everett, I think. And it was supposedly a great match, but all credit to Christopher Daniels, because I was green as goose shit and he led me through that whole thing. And so I think it's things like that got me on Frank Culbertson's radar. And so when Portland Wrestling got to be back on television, and I was one of the guys, and it was a carload usually of myself, the Ladies' Choice, Aaron Idol, and Dropkick Murphy. We would drive to Portland every month and shoot 4 weeks of TV. And some of easily some of the greatest times of my life, not just the wrestling part, the drives there and the drives back, the times after the shows. Being on TV was cool. And also my a couple close calls with my own health and safety. Actually, more. I think there was 3, but that's the wrestler lifestyle.
Yeah, like when Grappler kicked you in the head and gave you that bad cut in your head, right there. Yeah,
there it is. It goes from here all the way down here.
Oh, gee. I recently just rewatched that video. I was like, God dang, he beat the crap out of you on that one. And
yeah. It was I was the Portland Wrestling champion
and tag champions with him.
That's right. And we were out there, and I told him, I said, and I've got to give a really whole bunch of credit to the Grappler, Len Denton, and Moondog Moretti. and Buddy Wayne for what they did for me at Portland Wrestling, and how they took me under their wing and gave me plenty of opportunities, and put the strap on me, and then Grappler and I won the tag belts at the same time, and then we were on Moondog Moretti's talk show,
The
and
dog pound.
yeah, and I said to the Grappler what an honor it was to team with a legend. And if you remember, if you just watched it recently, he says, "Legend, you call me old."
You call me old, boy. You call me old.
Yeah, and the beat down commenced. He hit me with a pile drive, or no. First he hit me with he beat me down. They hit me with the loaded boot, busted me open, and then proceeded to pile drive me. And then this was right before my singles match against my best friend and tag team partner Dropkick Murphy, God rest his soul. So I'm laying there, like a bloody mask, a crimson mask if there ever was one, and out comes Maple Leaf Murphy, they're calling it at the time, for our match, and I was in no condition to have a wrestling match, and still managed to hit the super kick and springboard leg drop for the finish, and proceeded to gather up both tag titles and the Portland Wrestling Championship, and walk back to the dressing room. And we get to the back, and they're trying to put a butterfly, the butterfly bandages on my head to keep it closed. It was down to the skull, man. It wasn't closed.
Oh, jeez.
And so I'm covered in blood, and I go to the hospital, and I'm laying there in the emergency room, and they've got the gauze on my head to try to put pressure on, stop the bleeding. It's gathering blood. They have to keep changing the gauze because it's filling up with so much blood. Like we were on the way to hospital. I didn't know if I was going to make it. This is one of the times, obviously, I was referring to. And when they took off the gauze, it would shoot out of my head. It was hitting the ceiling of the emergency room. It was like a sprinkler, and I remember laying there, and I said, "Doc," I said, "sew it up real nice. I don't want a really ugly scar." And he did sew it up real nice, but I do have a cool scar. So whoever that doctor was, I thank you.
Yeah. When that match was happening, did Murphy or Vance Nevada say anything like what was Murphy's mind of thoughts when he saw that much blood on you? Like, did he say anything to you after?
Well, we were already, we were already like best friends.
Yeah.
And so otherwise he might have been more he might have been hot about having to lose to such a bloody mess. And I think the match was only 2 or 3 minutes. And but obviously he wants to do business. And I'm sure he was concerned about my health and safety. I know Frank Culbertson was. I looked at him on commentary, and the look on his face, I knew it was bad. But I was able to make it to the back, and like I said, tried to bandage me up, and it wasn't happening. So we head to the hospital, and I thank God I'm here right now.
Yeah, thank God for that, brother. Like, dang, I didn't know it was. I knew it was bad, but you explained it.
I literally almost had to have a blood transfusion. I lost so much blood.
Oh God, dang!
Yeah.
Like, thank God that you're still here to this day, brother. Like, but again, like, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
It was really bad.
Now, Yeah, I remember you telling me a story. Here's another one that one of those things that have health problems happen. You explained to me on the last time I talked to you is when you puked in the ring.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it was just, I'm thinking to myself, how much do I share here? Um, so the Black Dragon,
mhm,
one, uh, again, I'm so grateful for the guys that I've had the benefit of working with and learning from over the years. The Black Dragon lives in Vernon in the Okanagan here in British Columbia, which is about 6 hours away into the interior. Uh, about an hour from where I was born. I was born in Kelowna.
mhm.
And so the Black Dragon would drive to Surrey, to the LC, to the Ladies' Choices place for the night before, and then we'd leave in the morning for the tapings. And so Dropkick and I would usually go over there and hang out with the Ladies' Choice and the Black Dragon the night before, which, you know, we would we're young wrestlers and we would party. And
Yeah.
so the next morning it comes time to drive to Portland, and the Ladies' Choice was by that time he had been wrestling several years, so it's not his responsibility to drive. The Black Dragon, he'd been wrestling for even longer, an accomplished veteran. It's not his responsibility to drive. And anybody that knows Dropkick and I know that as big as he was, I was kind of like the big brother in the relationship. And I knew that Dropkick wasn't in any condition to drive. And so I drove. And we hadn't had a lot of sleep that night. And we stopped at a gas station, maybe just past Bellingham or something, and saw they were called Yellow Jackets, and
Mhm.
it was basically ephedrine, and so like caffeine times whatever, and so I took those to keep me awake for the drive,
Oh
and
no.
basically whatever when we got to the tapings and it came time to wrestle, and I'm not condoning this. I got a smile on my face, but I'm not condoning any of this. Don't party and wrestle. Don't make it our safety. Our opponent's safety comes first, and our own safety. So I'm not suggesting this or glamorizing it, but I was in no condition to wrestle, and I'm wrestling Damon Scythe on very little sleep, and he hit me with a short arm clothesline, and then he holds onto the arm, picks me up again, hits me with another short arm clothesline, kind of like Jake the Snake Roberts would before the DQ.
Yeah.
And also, like Jake Roberts, Damon Scythe would bring a snake to the ring, not quite as big, but a smaller snake in a bag. And
Baby
so,
doll.
yeah, and so after the first short arm clothesline, I puke in the ring, and Scythe picks me up, hits me with another one, and I puke again.
Oh no.
So I roll out to the outside, and I'm throwing up on the floor, and my tag team partner at the time is at ringside, Aaron Idol, and I don't know if people remember Aaron Idol, and if they know, he was legally blind, and
I did not know that.
yeah, he was legally blind. It was a certain type of blindness that I think it was like that the everything. It's almost like it's like dark on the outside, and you can kind of see. Um, I don't know if I'm describing it well. I know that his laptop computer, the letters were like this big. Like he had to zoom in on everything to see a computer.
Oh.
It was like, but he had really good. Like it never affected his wrestling. He's one of the best. Like he was so good because I not only did I team with him, but I would wrestle against him in some of my toughest, best matches. And so yeah, he was legally blind, so he came up to me on the outside. He didn't know I was puking because he couldn't see. But yeah, we ended the match and got me to the back. Turns out I was okay. But I know on commentary they said that I was deathly afraid of snakes, and that was why I was throwing up. And I yeah, it wasn't because I was afraid of snakes. I'm not afraid of snakes. And then the next month's tapings, I show up and I see a sign in the audience, Scotty Yak.
Yeah. I remember that. But in a way, like, it also kind of helped change you to babyface, to a villain. And the next thing you know, you guys were like one of the, I think, like one of the number one bad guys in the tag team division. And next thing you know, you're just like, yeah, you're making fun of me, and I threw up in the ring. But you know what happened? We won the tag team titles. You guys didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So I still remember that. Like,
yeah, it was great teaming with Idol, and it was I love being tag team champions in Portland, and I appreciate, like I said, everything that Frank Culbertson and Moondog Moretti and the Grappler did. I mean, it was because of them I got to work with Roddy Piper, and he was on commentary when I wrestled his son Colt on when they came back with Portland Wrestling again. It was off for a while, and then they got that deal with the WB, and yeah, wrestled Colt Toombs on TV there, and Roddy Piper on commentary, and that was one of the most surreal moments that I've ever had in wrestling, was because by that time it must have been like 2000. What do you remember? What year it came back on the W?
I believe this was 2016. I believe.
No, was it that late?
I believe so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because the first run was 2000, or the when they first brought it back, it's 2004 or 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
2004.
Okay. And then so I came back in 2016 when they brought it back again, and at that point I'd been wrestling 16 years, and so I had a bit of input in creative, I guess you could say, which was really cool. And I was in the back with Moretti and Grappler and Frank and Roddy Piper talking about the tapings and how things should go, and I'm just like, it was a surreal moment, that I was even in the company of those fellows, and going over how things should go and what we should do.
That's really cool. Like seeing you back in Portland Wrestling back in 2004, 2005, 2006, and seeing you coming back to Portland for Portland Wrestling Uncut. You and Ravenous Randy were a tag team. It was really cool.
Celery Generals.
Yes.
Which was, if anybody doesn't know, they can look up on YouTube. Tom Green, the Celery Generals, and Tom Green of MTV fame, and obviously his own internet podcasts and things like that. Originally started on cable access in Canada here, and so I saw him. We had what was called the Comedy Network, and they picked up his show, and it was very, very low budget, very it was just the coolest thing. And he had this one where he would play the Celery Generals, and both Ravenous Randy and I had a great appreciation for the Celery Generals segment. So to the point where we named our tag team after it, and on our gear it was bright neon green with red and black. and our logos were like the celery general is pieces of celery put together with a toothpick with a tomato head.
Oh,
and,
that's awesome.
and that was on our gears. It was ridiculous, but and Ravenous Randy and I are very different people, but we always in professional situations we got along really well because we both wanted to put out the best product. And so there would, when we were talking about things we were going to do, whether it be like, creatively for ECCW or for our own tag team, it's like he would have ideas that I would never even have come up with in a million years, but they were good. And so the combination of my creative input and his often came out with really, really great ideas. And um, the demise of the tag team, unfortunately, was the demise of, I guess, the demise of Portland Wrestling Uncut was the demise of our tag team, because the last tapings we had, we didn't end up having it. The ring was broken. The welding of the ring was broken, and that's not. I mean, if a board is broken in the ring, if a rope is broken in the ring, you can work with it. But if the frame is broken, you're screwed, because that's a danger to everybody. And so there was a welding issue that, like, it would have had to be welded together. And so instead we just basically got stories from Rowdy Roddy Piper for an hour or so that day. But that Randy and I, the previous tapings, they had him putting someone over, and they had me winning the Royal Rumble style matchup, getting a title shot. And the whole plan with the Celery Generals was for us to be a tag team, and to, we saw even beyond Portland wrestling, we really wanted to go with it because we knew the combination was solid and very different. And but the writing was on the wall as far as Portland Wrestling Uncut went, because they saw me as the singles guy that they wanted to push, and I guess they didn't see Randy the same way. And so yeah, that was the end of that. But it was a fun couple of months.
Yeah, like it sucks too, because I was actually rooting for you guys to win those tag titles, because you guys were like, the chemistry for you and Randy as a tag team was on point. Like, you guys were funny together. Like, even as a heel tag team, you guys, like, the timing was perfect for you two as a team. Randy is hilarious. You are the cocky guy, but it's just like it was mixing, like,
it was really, and again, credit to Tom Green, because that's what he's it was our mutual appreciation for Tom Green and his silly, insane sense of humor, where he would. I was just watching some of his stand up actually earlier, and he's just a really, really funny dude. And that came out in Randy and my characters in our promos, and we were really, really going with it. And we had something, because we were both really great wrestlers at the time, and this weird odd couple in a sense that worked really well. But the way she goes, sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't.
How I always saw with you two, like going back rewatching some of the old clips, how I always saw it was the captain of the football team teaming up with the weird goth kid, but they mixed very well. That's how I saw it.
Well, like, that's a big compliment, because that means that that what we were doing came across. So
yeah. Speaking of like cocky tag teams, I want to talk about and ask you about Chilltown.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, so I've
because I knew you and Murphy were, I believe, the first two to
Yeah.
be in the group.
Yeah. So the origins of Chilltown were in Smack Promotions,
Mm-hmm.
and I I was I was a successful singles competitor, if you will, and I there was a fan who was recording my matches for me on a handycam. For those listening out there that don't know what a handycam is, before we had streaming and internet and all that, and you could just
I,
watch whatever you wanted whenever you wanted it by clicking on a button or subscribing to something. There was VHS tapes and video recorders so I wanted to see my matches, and so a guy would record them for me, and then I thought, oh, let's get him a bit closer to the ring, because I was, despite only being like, I think 4 years into wrestling, I had a pretty good stroke, if you will, at ACCW, and I kind of got what I wanted a lot of the time, and so I knew what I could get away with, and I had the fan that would record come up closer to the ring and get better shots. And then next thing you know, like show after show, he's like right at the ring, right ringside, recording the match, and no one's doing anything about it. And then so then I get him a jacket printed up, and on the back it says Smack Promotions, and and then I'd work into my match. I would get him to slide me a foreign object or something, and I'd hit him with it. So then I trained him, and he ended up wrestling, and we got Machete Brown, who Machete's back in the business as of the last couple of years, and he wrestles for Apex Wrestling and a few other promotions, and I love that guy, and he's tough as nails, and great to have him back in the ring. But he's a big brown guy in a inmate, bright orange inmate outfit. So
yeah.
he was our bodyguard, and from there, we ended up shortly after ECCW bought Top Ranked Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
which had local television on KVOS. And so at that point, it was at that point, Dropkick and I started teaming, which was cool because when Dropkick first came into ECCW, I had just lost the ECCW title to the Ladies' Choice the month before, and then I'm booked against Dropkick, who was with he had trained with another company, wrestling for another company, and I didn't know him, and I was hot that I was losing to this guy. I'm like, I saw him as from the other promotion, and I'm like, first they take the belts off me, take the championship off me. Now I'm having to lose to this guy from the other promotion, and I was hot about it. Really had no right to be. I'm only 4 years in. I should have just done what I was told. But uh, but in communicating and getting to know each other that night, we were instant best friends, and so like I said, I had a lot of stroke with the office, and shortly after that, I said, well, what if Dropkick and I teamed, and so we started the team, and at that point, it wasn't about Smack Promotions anymore. It was a collective, and so we were then known as Chilltown, which comes from the reality show Big Brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the first season of Big Brother, there was an alliance between two guys, much like Dropkick and I, who became best friends very quickly and just dominated the show. And Dropkick and I, we dominated ECCW. And so Chilltown is appropriate, and still to this day, I am hailing from Chilltown on wrestling shows.
That's awesome. Like again, like we talked about Murphy a lot of times, and Murphy was legitimately like my favorite wrestler during the Portland wrestling times. Like if it was like if you weren't there, I was like, well, at least my boy Murphy's there with Vance Nevada. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but you remember that Canadian flag I have?
Mm.
I bought that because I was gonna be Dropkick Murphy for Halloween. I legitimately dressed up as him for Halloween back in my. Yeah, I literally dressed up as him for Halloween. I did his like dance moves and all that kind of stuff. Everyone was thinking like, oh, I'm just a nerd. I remember Murphy used to do that all the time to fans. And yeah, and when someone would make fun of me because how I was dressed, I literally did, I got in trouble, but still, Murphy was my favorite guy because like. This guy, he's funny, he's entertaining in the ring, really good wrestler, and I was just like, if you weren't there and Luther wasn't there, it's like Murphy's my guy. That's my guy. I've always loved Murphy. He was one of my favorites.
You've got great taste, my friend.
And
we lost Dropkick in December 2023, and that there will never be another.
Indeed.
But he lives on in the sense that there's not one wrestling show that I'm at that his name isn't mentioned fondly, and with laughter. Yeah, in the best ways.
Yeah, when Murphy passed, that literally broke my heart. And after when I was thinking about Murphy, I was like, oh God, how you been like Scotty? But I didn't want to bug you or anything about that. But when I talked to you about it now, like you told me, you were kind of in a dark place when Murphy passed.
That's the hardest thing in my life. Yeah. But onward and upward, and I've got this is Dropkick's thumbprint right here.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, just like right now, you're in good spirits right now, which is very good to hear. And I think Murphy,
life is good, and Dropkick would want it no other way. And so it's I'll continue on, and because that's what he would want, and if roles were reversed, it'd be the same way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like again, like I've always talked about Murphy a lot, like especially like when it has nothing to do with with wrestling or sometimes like that, or I'll talk to Bad Blood sometimes. Like there was one time we were talking about wrestlers like that passed. I told him the one that hit me the most was when Murphy passed. And I explained is like the guy was legitimately one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Like I loved Murphy.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get to talk to him as much.
Well, but everything that you imagine he would be, he was. And every room he was in was more fun and funny if he was in it. I could be in a prison cell somewhere with him. It would make it more enjoyable than otherwise. It doesn't matter the circumstances. He was the best.
Like the guy was like, oh, like he if you always had like a problem for you, like you like I could always call him. Like he's always there.
Yeah, and it was one of a kind. There will never be another.
Definitely, for sure. So, like with Murphy gone, unfortunately, like the good Lord called him, and it's just now he probably, like you said, like he would want me to continue what I'm doing.
Of course he would. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he always spoke fondly of you.
I loved Murphy. I've always loved him. Like I wanted to meet him when I went back to Canada to come see you guys. Like I've talked to him. I remember one time in Portland wrestling, I was just going in the back, and next thing you know, there's Murphy, and I got to talk to him for a little bit. And the funny thing is, it's like everyone was booing him, saying, "Oh, what a jerk!" It's like when I met him, I was just like, the guy was nice to me. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, there may be a reasons why he's a jerk to you guys, but to me, nah, he was never a jerk to me.
Well,
And
at his celebration of life, I can say it could not have been better. And the way everyone spoke about him made me realize that he was the same amazing dude to everybody that he interacted with on a personal level that he was with me, and that says volumes. Like I can only hope to be looked back on as fondly as he was. And
like like I said, like about Murphy, you two were always good to me. Like you guys always treated me like not just like a fan. You guys was like, yeah, that's my boy. Like that's how like, and that I always treasure that. Just like you guys never treated me like just a fan.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Our buddy Patrick feels the same way. You know Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends his best wishes.
Tell him I said hi for me, please.
Well,
now, Scotty, one more question for you is like, well, technically not one more question, but I want to know like, what, like if someone's trying to get into the business, what's your advice for them? Like, if someone's trying to get in, what can you give them advice for?
well, find a reputable school. Do your due diligence on making sure that the money you're spending is money well spent, and that the trainer or trainers have the appropriate amount of experience and success. Get your diet and eating and lifestyle on point. Get to the gym, or get outside and run, or whatever it is. Get your body right, whatever that may be, whatever your body type is. Just be ready to go, and know that being in the ring for 5 or 10 minutes would exhaust the average person. You know, you won't last very long if you're not in shape. And again, that when I say shape, that means many shapes. There's guys that I've been in the ring with that are, again, a couple 100 pounds heavier than me, that can go for longer even, I think, especially at 47. But get as healthy as you can, and give it your all, and take advantage of the opportunities that are presented, and when it's going well, work harder. Achieving what would be considered a moderate level of success, like let's say an independent promotion. You have the honor and privilege of carrying their championship. That's not the time to sit back and relax and be content with where you're at. If you want to go further, once you're at the top of the totem pole, you go on to be the bottom of that next tallest totem pole, and you get to the top of that one and keep going. Whatever that may be, whether it be, World Wrestling Entertainment and WrestleMania, great. Whether it be, I think these days, wrestling, professional wrestling, has genres. It's not just, one type of pro wrestling, I think, like it was. And I personally I enjoy most of the genres of pro wrestling. There's some that are more like variety shows, like Hood Slam in California. Really, really, I think, as far as I know, started something when they would have themed shows where it would be like, there was one, I think, that was like all all of the matches are inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah.
There would be like a match, kind of representing the Terminator movie, and then and then a different Schwarzenegger movie, and then uh, there's a promotion here in BC, in Vancouver. Um, the name escapes me right now, unfortunately. Um, they did I did a it was a horror. All of the matches were based on horror movies, and so
Hmm.
it was based on Scream, and so I got to be the boyfriend at the beginning of the Nev Campbell character, and then I ended up being Ghostface at the end of the match, because the Nev Campbell character beat the other. There was a few different ghost faces, and then I ended up being the last one. And so
Nice.
it's not my preferred pro wrestling. My preferred pro wrestling is more, I would say, 1990s wrestling is my favorite decade. Yeah, you with me on that? Yeah.
Yes. Same here.
And I'm talking from early '90s, WWE and WCW, to the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars. I love all the '90s, my favorite, and it comes out in my creative in the shows that I'm on these days. And so, uh, as much as how do I put this? Um, since the WWE was bought by TKO,
Yeah.
um, it's from what I understand, Vince McMahon always intended on the live shows being priced for families. Is
Hmm.
take your wife and children, and it doesn't break the bank. And since TKO has taken over, you to attempt to go to like WrestleMania or SummerSlam, or even one of the other PLEs, I guess, as they call them now.
Yeah.
You most families would have to take a second mortgage out on the house to be able to afford to go. I heard SummerSlam, 2 nights of SummerSlam for one ticket is like $38,000. That's
Hmm.
But instead of looking at that as a negative, which is in some ways, I see it as an opportunity for the independent wrestling companies to provide what the WWE can't for a lot of people and families, which is a really, really affordable night out, where you're probably not going to have a better time doing anything else. At least at the shows that I'm a part of, I can confidently say that the promotions that I work for regularly, being like Canadian Apex Wrestling, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling, Thrash Wrestling, Can-Am Pro Wrestling, you're in for a great night of entertainment, and you get more than your money's worth. And Loft Country Wrestling, I'll mention as well. Doing a Loft Country wrestling show in BC here in Langley in the end of March, hopefully. That's more. We run about 3 or 4 times a year. Also, Tapped Wrestling Federation, which is a good friend of mine, Dance Daddy De Niro, runs out of Port Moody here in BC. That next show is April 4th. I'll be working for Thrash in February in the Okanagan, and some March dates I have. I'm not sure if I'm able to do them yet. And then I'll be at Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling this weekend in Langford and Nanaimo on the 23rd and 24th. And then Canadian Apex Wrestling at Hastings in Vancouver on Saturday, January 31st. It'll be Shooter defending our Apex Tag Team Championships against Adonis and Taylor of DTA. So we'll have our 7-foot monster Van Bruggen with us, and our manager Ty Cordova is the Cordova Corporation. And so yeah, if you're wanting to pursue pro wrestling, I think that if enough independent companies are able to step up to the challenge and provide what the WWE isn't anymore, which is an affordable night out, I think there's a lot of opportunity even beyond main eventing WrestleMania as being your be all end all as far as goals go. So yeah, find a reputable trainer, work for reputable promotions that you're proud to be on the show of, not just you go out and steal the show and have a great match and don't worry about the other 6 matches or so that frankly suck sometimes, or maybe half of them aren't good. If you're working for those companies, you don't, at least for me, I don't want a wrestling fan going to an independent wrestling show that isn't this up to standards and then judge all independent wrestling shows on that one experience. And because of that, I don't, I'm choosy who I work for and work with, because I think about wrestling as a whole, and I don't want to contribute to saturating the market with wrestling shows and wrestling matches and wrestlers that don't belong in front of a paid audience.
It's some really good advice, and thank you, Scotty. I really do appreciate you having to being on my guest. I love having you here and just talking to you. And it's really great advice.
Yeah,
it's like what Bad Blood always told me when I'm doing commentary. Is like he would always tell me if I'm doing something right, or he'll tell me, he's like, you did okay, but was not your best, but this is what you could do to improve. Mm-hmm. Like he would tell me, and he would always say, treat this like it's your WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Treat it like that.
I was just in the ring this past Monday with a young tag team, the Young Gun and Grant Sale, and then another up and comer, Zakin. And the 4 of us were training, and one of the things that came up was train like you wrestle, because if you don't, you'll wrestle like you train. As in, don't half-ass it. Don't. When I'm training, I got full facials. The motion is there. The repetition matters, and if you're used to doing things half-ass or not, how do I put it? If you're going through the motions when you're training, you're and without the obviously you're not. It's not going to be exactly the same as a as a match in front of an audience. But, excuse me. Make it as close to that as you can, so that when it comes time, that's what instinctively comes out.
Again, Scotty, love you so much, brother. I love you, and thank you for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. I hope down the road maybe we could get back together, talk about stuff again, or even wrestling. I love to have the whole entire crew on here. And
let's
again,
let's
go
keep
ahead.
talking and let's make that happen. I've liked a couple of the ideas you've had already. The whole having some past ECW guests at the same time. If you want to have the Cordova the Cordova Corporation on, I and Van Bruggen and Devin Shooter would happily come on the show, because the four of us, it's a lot like Dropkick and I. The reason why we're as good as we think we are, and as much fun as it looks like we're having, that translates into very entertaining matches, and it's because it's real. Like our relationships are real, our friendships and our camaraderie are real, and that realism comes out on the show. And anybody that has the Cordova Corporation on their show, we're gonna get the heat we need. And whoever, when we come out to that ring and we tell all the fans to shut their mouths, get on their feet, put their hand over their heart, and pledge allegiance to the 51st state, and we get boo, because we're here in Canada.
Yeah,
Boos, yes, just every single time. Whoever comes out of that curtain afterward is getting cheered every single time. So I'll put that out there as a little self-promotion.
awesome. And I hope to one day go back and see you again. Love to hang out with you whenever I come back.
If you come to Canada, Josh, you can stay at my place.
I appreciate that, brother. I really do.
Yeah.
And hopefully down the road, you'll come back over here. I would love to have you at Roundtable for Wrestling. I would love to call one of your matches.
That sounds great, man. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. And again, Scotty, love you so much, brother. I really do appreciate you being on
Lots
the show.
of love right back at you, brother.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. Really do appreciate y'all. Love you, Maniacs. And Scotty, where can they find you on social media?
Well, if you search for Scotty Mac Wrestling or Smack Wrestling, that's no K, SMAC Wrestling, guaranteed you'll find all sorts of stuff. Some of it you'll like, some of it you won't. But I guess that depends if you're Canadian or American. If you're pro 51st state or not.
Yeah.
Look up Scotty Mac Wrestling. You'll find everything you need. And like I said, I got dates coming up at Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling, Canadian Apex Wrestling, Thrash Wrestling, and like I said, hopefully Can-Am Wrestling in the spring in Alberta.
Awesome, Scotty. Thank you again, brother. And thank you, Maniacs. I love you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Oregon Wrestling Observer. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on TikTok. Go like the Oregon Wrestling Observer Facebook page. Go support indie wrestling and go support Scotty Mac and the rest of the wrestlers there. Love them all to death and love you, brother. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Broken bones from parts unknown simplify wonders of why broken promises reveal